Hello friends, this is Chandrakant from Mac Technologies. Welcome to Supervise. And it's a lovely morning here in India. Let me welcome my friend, my mentor from London, Mr. Naval Gunt. Naval, welcome to the show.
Good morning, CK. The end of another long week. Hopefully we're being unlocked as we speak. And now let's have a short little interlude of unlocking people's minds, getting them to think.
Predominantly, there were three kinds of reaction that I've seen. Number one, people who like to just wait and watch and see what their peers are doing and copy that immediately. If that is, successful, that particular action is successful, copy it also without thinking whether it's going to be beneficial for them or not. So the copycat is one kind of leaders that I have encountered personally. The second type of leader that I have encountered is backbencher. I will call them backbencher. They say, I'm running the show in the back end, but I allow other people in my organization to take the lead. So they are not leading from the front, they are pushing from the back. So I call them back. Hello friends, this is Chandrakant from Mac Technologies. Welcome to Supervise. And it's a lovely morning here in India. Let me welcome my friend, my mentor from London, Mr. Naval Gunt. Naval, welcome to the show.
Good morning, CK. The end of another long week. Hopefully we're being unlocked as we speak. And now let's have a short little interlude of unlocking people's minds, getting them to think as Friday seeps into the weekend, and we've got a long weekend to think about it. So what topic would you like to discuss today? I've got a funny feeling it's going to be a juicy one.
In fact, something I would like to share with you today. And, you mentioned lockdown and then we are getting into unlock. So I think that is a process. And during this period of 3 months of lockdown, you and I have discussed the issues pertaining to running the business, pertaining to leadership with many people actually. Some of them are related to our business and some of them are related in the friend circle and the fraternity. What I found out, Naval, which I want to share with you is predominantly there were three kinds of reaction that I've seen. Number one, people who like to just wait and watch and see what their peers are doing and copy that immediately. If that is, successful, that particular action is successful, copy it also without thinking whether it's going to be beneficial for them or not. So the copycat is one kind of leaders that I have encountered personally. The second type of leader that I have encountered is backbencher. I will call them backbencher. They say, I'm running the show in the back end, but I allow other people in my organization to take the lead. So they are not leading from the front, they are pushing from the back. So I call them backbencher. And the last category is maverick. I call them maverick because they are go-getters. So they are actually leading the company, their organization, their group from the front. So these are the things that I have encountered during the last 3 months very distinctly, because we are having more conversations during lockdown than usual. So I think something that I wanted to share with you today.
Well, it's a very interesting observation because you've recognised three. But did you know there are probably in excess of 120 different leadership methods, theories that are currently being presented around the world, and you're only seeing three. So already we've got a huge disconnect. But the interesting thing is, all of these methods or theories or ideas are currently being trained around the world in universities and in large organizations. And yet, frankly, what you've recognized is probably they all boil down to three. People that wait and watch and then copy someone else. And that's a really good way, because actually we learn an awful lot by copying other people. But it's like you and I have talked a lot about, are we really listening? Are we really watching what's going on? Because the copycat just takes it from here and does it over here. But they're not me. They're not you. So something else is going on between what you do and what I do that manifests itself in an outside behavior. But they don't know that. They have no idea what that is. I mean, I shared on Facebook today, I shared a baby elephant copying its mother. Mums are great, you know. When we're in our formative years, we're growing up and we're copying what mum does. I don't know about you, but my mother never used to put an apron on in the kitchen. And she always insisted that I put an apron on. But when I saw she didn't have an apron on, the first thing I did was literally take it off. You haven't got one? I'm not having one. It's an immediate copycat. What I didn't know was the apron was going to stop me getting messy. But she was experienced enough not to get messy. Okay? So eventually you start to learn and the apron starts to go back on because you don't really want to be that messy and constantly in the bath. I love your term, the backbencher. Because what do backbenchers do? Typically, nothing. They don't even wait and see. They almost like wait to be told. And in some respects, what you're describing here is the mind fit map that people can see above my head. Because these are can't do people. These just wait to be told what to do. And the copycats actually are probably more the won't do people. Because they're not really thinking for themselves. They're just copying what other people are doing. And then when it doesn't work for them, they say, well, that was a bad idea. I don't know how it's working for them, but it's not going to work for me. And listen to the language that we're hearing here. We've all got it, you know, we've all got these, people think there are two voices in our head, but you've just said there are three. Because there's the maverick, the can do. Get out there, do it, try it. If it doesn't work, try something else. So I think what you've explained there is something very simple and very, very easy to understand what's going on in the world. And you've seen them all the time. We see them in our parliamentary government bodies, whether that's in local government or in federal government, in the corporate arena. And we also see it in small businesses and large businesses. So the question we've got really is, what type of leader are you? Because you could be all three. To be a maverick, it's good to watch and have a look and see what's happening out there. It's good to stand back and reflect and do nothing for a while, but then get out there. So are you actively in all those three areas, or am I just explaining what a maverick does? You know, takes a really good look at what's going on. Wonder if I can do that. Maybe if I twist it a little bit, then the imagination starts to kick in. So I see you're nodding away there, and the cogs are going. So now the question is, CK, you're going to tell people what leader you are?
Yes, I was waiting for it. So,
good answer. Yes.
Because I am a maverick. I consider myself as a
I know you're a maverick. We can see it.
You know why? Although you are absolutely right when you said that we can be a combination of all three. But I think there is a difference in my approach. I would like to be always in the forefront. I don't want to be a backbencher. While I can be backbencher maybe half an hour of a day, but I'm not classifying myself as a leader who's a backbencher. I would like to be maverick, and there is a reason for it. See, if I take a decision, I would have taken a decision by considering my experience, or maybe talking to mentor like you, some other people in the industry, and I've taken a decision. So you can say that if I take a decision as a leader, it must be 90% of the time right decision. I cannot say that I will be 100% right all the time. I would say at least 95%, 90 to 95% I'll be right. And I have that confidence in me that 90% of the time I will take the right decision. But there are certain things called luck. 10% of your decisions can go wrong. And that is what I experience. So of all the decisions I do take. I am a go-getter. I want to take. But 10% of those decisions go wrong. And I'm okay with that. I'm fine with it. I'm living a nice life with those failures, 10% of the failures. So that is the kind of leader I am.
That's great. And what you've done is you've shared your level of experience and how it's taken you, maybe it's taken you all these years to get there, and then be resilient in the fact that, it failed. So what? Failure is not a negative word in your vocabulary. It's just in the dictionary. Imagine taking a dictionary and deleting all the negative words. Because I've had people tell me that's a negative word. We don't use negative words in this organisation. And I've said, well, if we took all the negative words out of the dictionary, frankly, every other word you wouldn't hear because I wouldn't be able to say it. No is a negative word to some people. I find it a really positive word because it means I'm physically thinking in here. The cogs are going and the answer's no. Know what is important, No, I'm not going to do it now. No, we haven't got time. We haven't got the budget. No, it's a great idea, but you need to park it. All of those can have a positive connotation. But if you take the word no out of the dictionary and never use it, you're in trouble, aren't you? And I just find that be resilient, Don't worry about it. If you get feedback from someone shouting at you, the content could be brilliant, but the way they're delivering it to you starts to hurt. I had a phrase my mother said almost must have been from the day I was born, maybe even when I was in her belly. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but names will never hurt me. So you can call me what you like, It's up to me to be resilient and take it on board if I think it's constructive. But if it's just you being nasty, forget it. Now, we all want people to grow up like that, to be resilient, so that we're aware of all of the good stuff and the bad stuff, and we use our own filter to take in literally what's going to be useful for me. And that's why the copycat fails, because they've got no filter. They just take it all in and they say, well, it works over here, I'm going to work it over here. And you know what? Sometimes you're lucky enough to have put your own little ingredient in, maybe had an extra cup of coffee just to make it work. And it works. But the problem is when you go and repeat it tomorrow, it doesn't work. And then it implodes because you've actually got no model. And models are great until you make it a process. And that's key to what we all want to do. Now, but let me go a step further here, because this is all about giving people knowledge and a bit of information, a bit of thought process. In a MindFit approach, we have 5 leadership levels, but they all have to work together. 4 are internal and 1 is external. So I'd now like you to imagine you're a small business with 4 executive directors and 1 non-exec director. The non-exec doesn't get involved in the business. The non-exec stands to one side, looks at what's happening out in the arena, the copycat, if you like, what's going on over here. So there are elements that non-exec is really aware of. They could be an industry specialist, but they're a non-executive. They're not actively involved in the business. That's the executive directors. So now imagine we've got 4 roles that either one executive director can undertake or 4 executive directors. One's the investigator. This is the primary area of how you improve. What is really happening? Not what I perceive. What are the facts? If I've got gaps, can I fill those gaps in intuitively with decent knowledge? Typically, you'd ask the non-exec director. I'll tell you what we call him in a minute, okay? Because we've got a name for him too, or her. Then we've got the innovator. So once you've investigated what's going on, you keep doing all the things that you're doing really well, but then actually you need to change something. So I need to innovate. I need to think about what else I could do to change what I'm currently doing. Once you've decided those things, you then need to navigate. Just like the captain of a ship on the wheel, you need to navigate through. And sometimes it's an easy navigation, quite simple to implement in your organization or in your industry, or you have to really go through stormy waters. Imagine a big sail ship and the wind's blowing in this direction, and that's the direction you want to go in. Well, if you point the ship in that direction, the navigator knows actually I'm going to get blown backwards because the sails will only go in the direction that the wind is blowing. So in seaman's terms, they tack. You've heard of that. They tack into the wind, yeah? And when the wind changes, you have to tack. So you have to navigate. It's a great term. No? Then you need to stabilize. So we've got the investigator, the innovator, the navigator, and the stabilizer. In other words, let's do a reality check of what I've changed. What's happening? Has it been an improvement, or have we got it wrong? And if we've got it wrong, we need to go back into the investigator and say, well, what happened there then? Because we did what we thought was going to be right. Just like you said, 10% you get wrong, 90% you get right. Well, the idea is we've got a mechanism now, we've got a process where we can get things right far quicker and better than ever before. So this circle, investigator, innovator, navigator, and stabilizer, goes on all the time. And the more you do it, the better you get. Now, that is one you can copy. That is a copycat, absolute, because that's a process that I guarantee, listen to the words, guarantee will work. But we've forgotten one person, this brilliant person that's sitting on the side, this non-executive that we call an explorer. That person's exploring what's happening elsewhere and bringing in all of the industry advice that we're not seeing because we're far too busy running the business. So in some businesses, you might call that person the chairperson, the chairman, because they're looking outside the business all the time. We like to prefer it as a non-executive because that person comes in every now and again. So they're exploring what's going out there. What are we doing in our organization? How is that fitting in the real world? They need to be mavericks. They need to be go-getters. There is no way that they're going to sit back and think and contemplate their nails. They're going to really get out there. So here you got perfect process. This isn't a model. This is a process. So build yourself as an investigator, an innovator, a navigator, and a stabilizer, and make sure you've got the explorer working in tandem with you from time to time. They all sort of fit into the three types of leaders that you've seen out there. But the key thing is we all want to be successful. And it's simple if we follow something on a regular basis. So leadership is a massive subject. I love it because we need leaders. Not egotistical leaders, not people that like to talk a lot and do very little. We all see them in organisations. They're very good at chatting, they're very good at interviews, but they're not actually very good at walking around the shop floor, engaging and inspiring the workforce. Whether you're a huge organisation or a small organisation, very digitally driven like we are today, very remote, we all need great leaders. And I think if people take a look at me on LinkedIn, one of the last articles I wrote, the crisis in leadership. It's a global crisis. So, but you can be a great leader if you do it. Not a great leader that gets column inches, but a great leader for your organisation. So, does that help?
Oh, certainly. In fact, I started with 3 different observations of mine, but I think you have given a totally different spin altogether. And I think it's a great learning. But I still see that almost 50 to 60% people are copycats, and about 30 are backbenchers, and only 10 are maverick. And in fact, the organization can also be classified that way. I think the message that you have given is that all of these guys, whether they're leaders or organization, they need to follow the process that you've just explained in a very simple term, which is being investigator, innovator, stabilizer, and so on and so forth. So these are the 4-5 things that we need to do. Because I've seen, Nebul, to be very frank with you, when I say the organizations, they actually appoint president's strategy. I'm just quoting an example. The president's strategy they appoint just because there is a position in their HR pyramid, but they don't listen to him. If this person who has been hired based on his experience, and he's really the explorer, he's giving strategic direction to the organization, but the company don't listen to him. They do things the way they want to. The leader of the organization will be a backbencher. So it doesn't matter you have a strategy officer. It won't help him because he's not going to listen to him. So I think, let me also recall some of the episodes we have done about listening. So while we follow this process, I think the key skill is how do I listen also? I think open my mind, listen to the input which are coming. And I would say with confidence, 90% companies don't listen.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, the interesting thing is, it's very easy to get into. We won't see it as a rut, but it is a rut because we're just doing the same thing all the time. As you said, a lot of people, large organisations particularly, have created this role, strategic officer. Tick. That's the box ticked. Never really giving it any thought as to why this person's here. We've just copied everyone else.
Right.
That's not a good reason to have someone there. I'm a great believer in the right person for the job. It doesn't matter who that person is. I mean, in many respects, it'd be really good if interviews were behind closed doors. In other words, you were in one room and I'm in another, and you can't see me. And our voices are encrypted, so you don't know whether I'm a male or a female, or of any ethnic minority, because you really want the best person for the job. So constantly, we literally just look at a bunch of CVs, and the majority a male because that's who's been put forward, and you tend to focus your unconscious bias, because that's what it is, generates down to man. Whereas we all know that in most successful households where the children are really happy, you know what I'm going to say here. There's a man and a woman. Majority of the times, we're in different arena these days, but in the majority of the times, there's a man and a woman, because there's different ways of thinking and different ways of doing, and it's a great union that someone called marriage. So why can't we do that in organisations? Why don't we just help women effectively break through the glass ceiling? Because that's what it is. But this is another thing. This is not ticking the box. This isn't, I've got a female on the board. Tick. Great. We've just passed that hurdle. I hear, interested enough, we've really expanded this subject today, but it is huge. To get if you want the best out of your business, you want the best people in the business, you want everyone to be open, you want everyone to be driving the business forward. The last thing you want is 99% of your team as backbenchers. Equally, you don't want 99% as mavericks, because there's still things that still need to be done. So you would need people to be happy in what they're doing, but given enough latitude to say, what if we do this? How about changing this over here? This person, this group actually is flying down one route. Why don't we just have more of a look at what that group's doing and seeing whether we can benefit from it? Notice what these are. These are all questions. And great leadership is about not just asking questions, asking the right question, and more importantly, being resilient enough to make an answer that has got reality in it rather than perception.
In fact,
it's a huge subject.
Absolutely, it's a very big subject. I think we are just touching a portion, a tiny droplet of the ocean. However, I will urge the viewers to look at this video, and there will be a quiz where we will give opportunity to leaders to rate themselves based on these three categories that we have discussed. So we'll look forward to your feedback, viewers, and see where you stand as a leader. Are you a backbencher? Are you a copycat? Or are you a maverick? So I think that is one great thing we expect from the viewer, from the community.
That's brilliant. Yeah, let's. And the thing about this, the questionnaire that CK is going to be putting out there, I think what the questionnaire is anyway, is you can do this questionnaire in the comfort of your own armchair. You don't have to share it with anybody. So therefore, you can really be honest with yourself. And don't just go through it and really think, because the majority of the time, the more we think about something, the more we rationalize it, and we then know the right answer. The right answer is not what you're looking for. What you're looking for is what you do. But that may not be the right answer. And the point is, that's fine. Because now what you've done is, by answering a very simple question, you've now positioned yourself for change. If you think you're brilliant, and this questionnaire, very simple questionnaire, suggests you've got a little way to go, it's not a problem. Don't worry about it. I'm 61 years old and I'm still learning. I still probably get more wrong than I get right. But that's because I do a tremendous amount with a lot of people. But sometimes you've just got to go and do it, Stop being the backbencher, stop being the copycat. Think of being that innovator on good, solid facts that the investigator's given you. Navigate through your tough or simple arena and then measure it. Stabilize. And then have another look. A lot of people call it the helicopter view. That's what the Explorer is, non-executive. It allows you to take the helicopter view of your organization, because we're so often at the ant view. Other people call it working in the business or on the business. There's a huge chasm between working in and working on. And it's a different mindset when you're working in to being strategic working on. So there's lots of phrases that people are using out there. Hopefully we're creating that real hard, solid bowling ball that you're now perhaps beginning to understand what these terms really mean, how important they are, because they're incredibly important. But more importantly, what are you going to do about it? So have fun with the questionnaire, laugh at yourself afterwards, because we do give you a marking. But again, you don't have to share it with anybody, just laugh at yourself or smile, one or the other. Both are good. And you've got all weekend to do it.
In fact, I can make it simple for the viewers to answer these questions. I think the best answer would be to consider the answer which comes first in your mind, because that is really the natural answer. And then if you start thinking a lot, may not be the real answer. So I think since it is something personal to you, take the first answer of this question as the answer for this questionnaire. So with this bit of tip, me, myself, and Neville will leave you and catch up with you again on Monday next week. Thank you for your time, Neville. See you next.
No, my pleasure, CK. Have a great weekend, everybody. And as CK says, the first thing that comes into your mind, because that's what you do all the time.
Bye-bye, Neville. Have a nice weekend.
And you.